We going through the motions. We better than the rest.
This is Joshua Don't Blink Grid Jr., and you're now tuned in to Bite Down Boxing Podcast for some of the best boxing content.
Peace, boxing fans. Thanks for pressing play on another Bite Down Boxing video. This clip is just an extension of the Bite Down Boxing Podcast. I am the host, Wood. Wanted a pretty special guest today that I wanted to get out there for people to listen to, and a fighter that I think you should get to know about for a number of reasons. But right now, I'm going to jump into part one of my interview with undefeated super featherweight prospect, born in Florida, but now residing in Washington, D.C., Tiara Brown. You help us. I know a lot of the females, as the game is kind of coming along, not many of you all are just able to box full time. So how does that affect your career?
Well, my schedule is really tight. I have long days and short nights, but I make it work. I feel like if anybody puts their mind to something and, you know, hard work, dedication, ambition, and drive, you can do anything you set your mind to do. Right. Now, you're sure. Go ahead. Go, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say your full-time job is in law enforcement? Yes, Metropolitan Police Department, 6th District. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that seems like a stressful job, but one that's kind of has some fit. You know, I think it's a certain level of fitness required to to be good at that job. So is that one of the parts that kind of has helped along with staying focused on your boxing? Well, not really, because I've been boxing for almost 18 years now. I've only been a police officer for 3.5 years, so boxing is my first and it's my drive, my passion. Boxing, my discipline and my dedication to boxing actually leads me to other things. It leads me to be such a great worker at other things that I do. Okay, all right. What drew you towards becoming a police officer? Well, ever since I was a little kid, I loved law enforcement and firefighters. I think every kid as a child, I think every child is just amazed by cops and firefighters. But growing up, I loved law enforcement, and I knew that, like, there's a lot of negativity that goes on in the world with law enforcement. And I knew that I wanted to be a positive light in the world of law enforcement. So where there's, negative, there's always positive, and I always try to make sure that I stand out from the stereotype of what a law enforcement officer is and does. That's dope. And that echoes something that I've tried to share with a couple of partners. Especially as we've been going through the issues the last 4 or 5 years with police brutality and the police involved shootings and whatnot. And that's been one of my thoughts, is that why don't more from the community get involved with actually being on a police force, instead of it being a job that it seems like is people speaking out against even being a police officer. And I'm thinking, like, why couldn't you change from the inside and that, like I said, more of us, go try to become police officers. Mm-hmm. I agree. So I agree with that 100%. So as your, as you continue to, rise up the rankings in boxing, maybe pick up some more popularity or familiarity in the community, do you think that that's something that could help out with how you go about doing your job and being that positive force in the community? Most definitely. I mean, everyone that knows me
or that interacts with me, they call me Officer Friendly. Everybody know, most people in DC know who I am as the officer and as well as the boxer. And, you know, I do a lot of community events. I'm a role model and a peer to a lot of the youth. We just started the Big Brother, Big Sister program here. I'm waiting for that to kick off because I'll be a part of that as well.
Okay. What's the weirdest experience you've had in performing your job the last 2 or 3 years?
Weirdest.
Or just good or bad experience that's just stood out for you.
Oh, good or bad experiences I've had. It's funny because I haven't had that many bad experiences. Most of my interactions are good. I mean, I lock people up, but it's not my go-to. Everybody knows I'm going to talk it out. If I can talk it out, I'm talking it out. If I arrest someone, they did something terribly wrong, and there was just no other. Yeah, there was just no other option because I think that not everyone deserves to be locked up. As a police officer, we are counselors. We are law enforcement. We are just, sometimes people want to talk and just cry, or sometimes we have to be the person that get cussed out just because somebody had a bad day. There's no one else they can do it to, and we're there. So, hey, dish it out. But it's our job to listen. You know, it's our job to be there. It's our job to interact with the community and let them know that even if they're treating us wrong, we're still here for them, because no one calls the police to say, hey, I'm having a great day today. How's your day? People call the police when everything's gone wrong, when there's nothing else to do, when all else fails. People call the police.
Right. You never showed up to anything and things were fantastic, huh?
No.
Now,
no.
Now, when you were going through training, or, you know, initially coming in the first few months, and maybe you were assigned to someone to kind of shadow, or someone to mentor you or whatever, learning the ropes, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Did that person or these people have those same attitudes about talking some of this out, or was it a case where maybe it was more seasoned officers and they kind of lost that aspect of or that attitude towards policing? Or was it a mix?
Well, when you're new to the job, you have no choice as to who you're surrounded by, and you know the lockups that you take. They're mandatory. It's for learning, it's for training. But as you get older, then you can make your decision as to, okay, I don't want to be around these group of individuals. I don't want to be seen in this light, or I want to be seen like this. I want to handle my scenes this way. I want to treat people as if, hey, that could be my cousin locked up on the corner, you know, or stopped because he or she fits the description. How would I want one of my families to be treated? So I know as an individual how I want to treat people, because at the end of the day, it's just a job. Nothing's personal. If someone is to see me at work with my badge on, they don't see, they see an officer. They don't see Tiara. They see an officer. Now, I can deal with that same individual, not in uniform, and we can kick it, have a good time. I just know the way I am with people. I treat everyone as if how I want to be treated, how I want my nephews to be treated. They're young. They're in high school. I treat everyone as if they're my family member.
Wonderful. Hey, that's just refreshing to hear. You just mentioned that you've been training for boxing for, you said 18 years?
Yeah, it's coming up on 18 years now.
18 years in this game. So I was just checking out the fight with your last opponent, and it was mentioned during the introduction that you were coming off of a #1 amateur ranking. So could you kind of run us through your background with the sport?
I believe I started boxing. I was 12 or 13. I actually had 2 older cousins that were boxers. And I used to go to the gym with them all the time, but also I played basketball for my middle school. For my high school, I played basketball, track, cross country. I went to college on a 4-year scholarship for track and cross country, but during that time I was still boxing. So I've always been boxing, but there were times where, I couldn't focus on it as much. But back in 2009, I just devoted myself to only boxing. And the first time I did that, I made the USA team. And I was on the USA team from 2009 until 2015 when I decided that, I was going to turn pro. Or like almost 2000, mid 2015, beginning of 2016.
How was that?
I won 2012. I won the world gold medal in China. I was number one in the world. And that was in 2012. 2015, we were in Korea. I was really sick. Me and actually several of my other teammates, we got really ill in Korea. And I still made the podium, but I only brought back the bronze. And I was, at that point, it made me number 3 in the world. But when I decided to turn pro, my best friend, Raquel Miller, she's also a professional boxer. She's from California, undefeated. When she decided to turn pro and retire from the USA team, best friends, we stick together. So when she decided to turn pro, I decided to turn pro as well.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Could you hear me?
Yeah, I was listening to you. Did you stop? Well, I thought the phone might have dropped for a second.
Oh, no, I stopped.
Oh, okay.
I thought the dog was starting to talk on the phone.
Oh, no, okay. So, yeah, I've actually I've been in touch with Raquel a couple times and checking her out on Instagram as well. So how have these experiences or did that experience kind of gear you up for, making a run at this thing professionally?
Well, I have over 100 fights amateur, over like 115 fights amateur. I've fought some of the toughest opponents in the world and came out on top. I've lost a few fights, but for the most time I came out on top. And even in defeat, you learn something. So I think all my amateur experience has made me, really equipped for the professional division in boxing. My last opponent, Santana, who I just fought 2 weeks ago, she was a veteran, 36 wins, only 10 losses. At that time, I only had 6 wins with 4 KOs. And a lot of people thought that I shouldn't take that fight. I listened to the chatter. I just never replied. A lot of people were saying, oh, she may have bitten off more than she can chew. And why is she fighting such a great boxer so soon in her career? I looked up my opponent's record. I looked at her fights. She was a very polished athlete. She's a very good boxer. But I picked her apart when we fought. It was just easy to me because all I do is train. I work and I train nonstop. There is no holiday for me. On the holidays, I'm training. There is no birthday. On my birthday, I'm training. That's what I like to do. It's called passion. I'm very passionate about it, so therefore it's not work. It's what I do. If after my fight, I took 5 days off, I felt like I was going crazy. I thought I was losing my mind. So you know what I did? I got up and I went to the gym. It's just what I do. I train nonstop.
Yeah, I did notice that. I think both of your last 2 opponents, I know Santana had a great deal of experience, but I thought the opponent before her had more experience than you as well. And both of these fights were at Bowie State, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that jumped out to me, well, I'm kind of getting ahead of where I was going with that. Let me come back to the Bowie State thing. I noticed several months ago that you did sign to DiBella Entertainment, headed up by Lou DiBella, we all know, and respect in the boxing game. What do you think about you played a major role in DiBella, reaching out to you to bring you on to, into under his banner?
I think that my skill level in boxing, he picked up on that, and my experience as an amateur, my character, my humility, though, really, I think, is what tied the deal with him. I think he knows that I'm very dedicated. He'll never have to question, am I in shape, or question, have I been training hard? He knows it. And so I think that those were key factors as to why Lou took that leap of faith on me.
What was your impression of Lou? I mean, and I asked because it's so much chatter and bashing of promoters right now for this reason or the other. But I feel like I feel like a lot of us fans and people observing the game, we don't understand that they got to be doing something right if new and up and coming fighters are going to, are signing and making deals with some of these promoters. So they must be good at their job in terms of serving their fighter or acting in their fighter's best interest. So what stood out to you about Lou?
Well, I actually had been following Lou DiBella for quite some time. I know a lot about boxing. Like I said, I've been boxing for almost 18 years now. And the thing that stood out about Lou is that, you still have people who say women shouldn't box. Oh, women's boxing is not a sport. Oh, well, women don't need to be treated equally. But Lou is the complete opposite. Lou, he has a stable of women fighters. He respects us just as if we are one of his male fighters. It's like he doesn't see male or woman. He sees boxer. I'm a boxer in his eyes. I'm not a girl fighter. He doesn't separate the two. He treats us the same way he treats his male fighters. He takes chances with us, and he believes in us. And that's the most important thing right there, because we're in an industry where people don't think that women should box. Well, why not? Why not? It's a sport, and you have women's MMA, UFC, jiu-jitsu, karate, all those things. Why shouldn't women be able to be boxers? And Lou respects us, and he knows how important it is for us to be treated equal, and he does that. He does just that, and he does it well. And I respect him for that. And that is one of the biggest reasons, actually, why I wanted to be signed with Lou, and I was grateful when he reached out to me.
Yeah, and being in a couple of post-fight interviews and even interview rooms, period, with Lou, one thing that I will say, and he's not the only promoter out there I see with it, but just seems to be able to really connect with his fighters on a real personal level. And even, with his fighters, his black fighters and whatnot, I see a genuine connection there versus him coming from some totally different walk of life, even though I believe he's like an Ivy League guy and all of that, and his time at HBO,
right.
his time at HBO and everything. But I'm watching some of the stuff that he talks about away from boxing, and like I said, just sitting there listening to him defend some of his fighters or defend different aspects of boxing. I really like his connection with the people that he represents, and I would feel comfortable with him, steering my career. I really appreciated that about the guy.
Right. And it's not even just sports. Like,
right.
I watch his Twitter, and he's very adamant about just humanity,
right.
saying, like, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And that, you don't really get that a lot from managers and promoters and people of his status. And he gets a lot of clash back from that, but he doesn't care. Lou speaks his mind.
Right.
And that speaks volumes.
Right. Like I said, I'm just listening to some of his. Like I said, it's not even boxing related anything. Just his comments on some different, pop culture stuff or the music I see him talking about or something. He pretty down to earth guy to me.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, on the men's side, the welterweight division is kind of considered has long been considered the glamour division, or the just where all the action is. It's one of those. It's for the last couple years, and a lot of that was before Mayweather got there, and then what Mayweather did with it, and all the guys who have come in since. On the female side, on the women's side, do you think there's a division that it would be like the flagship division for the women?
Yeah, and I honestly do believe that it's like between that featherweight and that welterweight. I honestly do.